In South African politics, few figures have captured public attention quite like Julius Malema and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. Their alliance, forged during the early years of the economic freedom fighters, once stood as a symbol of radical change, youth leadership, and an unflinching challenge to the political establishment. But time, ambition, ideology, and power have a way of reshaping alliances, and what once seemed unbreakable has now come undone. In February, South Africans were met with the news that Mbuyiseni Ndlozi had officially parted ways with the EFF and exited active party politics altogether. This development came after a long stretch of growing tension, whispered discontent, and ultimately, public separation between two of the party's most recognizable faces. To understand this political split, we need to rewind to the origins of the economic freedom fighters and the roles both Malema and Ndlozi played in building the party from the ground up. Julius Malema, once the firebrand president of the ANC Youth League, was expelled from the ANC in 2012. That expulsion was the turning point that led to the formation of a new political movement, the EFF, in 2013. Malema quickly positioned the EFF as a revolutionary alternative, one that would stand unapologetically on the side of the poor, the marginalized, and the disenfranchised. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, a young academic with a PhD in political science, soon emerged as a leading intellectual force within the party. Appointed as the EFF's first official spokesperson, Ndlozi became the party's voice, bringing a sharp, articulate, and passionate tone to EFF messaging. He was widely admired for his eloquence and his ability to translate complex political issues into clear arguments that resonated with both the media and the general public. But as the EFF grew in stature and became a more established force in South African politics, internal tensions began to surface. While the public often saw a united front, insiders and close observers noted signs of divergence. Power struggles, differences in vision, and questions about loyalty and discipline began to quietly simmer beneath the surface. By the time the 2024 national elections approached, the cracks were beginning to widen. Ndlozi, once a frequent presence in EFF public events, had become increasingly absent. His role in the party seemed to be shrinking. And then came the disciplinary action. Ndlozi was suspended. Though the reasons were not made fully public at the time, speculation was rife. Some believed it was related to internal disputes about strategy and leadership direction. Others thought it had more to do with personal rivalry and political ambition. Either way, the suspension marked the beginning of the end. On the podcast and Chill show, after formally stepping away from the party, Ndlozi opened up about the events that led to his departure. He acknowledged the difficulties in his relationship with Malema and confirmed that the tension had grown to an unbearable level. Despite this, he was careful not to speak negatively about Malema or the EFF. He expressed his respect for Malema's leadership and insisted that he would never speak ill of the man who had once been both a comrade and a mentor. His decision to exit politics, he said, was not made lightly. It came after deep reflection and a recognition that the space no longer allowed him to contribute meaningfully. He described his exit not as a defeat, but as a necessary step to preserve his own sense of purpose and dignity. Meanwhile, Julius Malema continued his work to rebuild the EFF after what was widely seen as a disappointing election result in 2024. The party lost ground in KwaZulu-Natal and saw a decrease in seats in the National Assembly. During a speech to party members, Malema didn't hold back. He criticized leaders who he believed were more interested in personal gain than in the people they claimed to serve. He said, and I quote, "For once, stop thinking about your selfish leadership interest, and think for our people. Your time will come. You are fighting for positions as if you're dying tomorrow. Are you guys sick? Maybe you are and we don't know." These were strong words, directed at no one by name but widely interpreted as a veiled message aimed at former comrades like Ndlozi. Then came a remark that drew even more attention. Malema joked that some of those disrupting EFF branches would end up working at radio stations and that Malechi Radio was hiring. While he didn't name names, many interpreted this as a jab at Ndlozi, who has since taken up a position with Power FM. It was a statement loaded with meaning, suggesting both dismissal and mockery. To some, it was cruel and unnecessary; to others, it was typical Malema, blunt, sarcastic, and unapologetic. The question that remains on many people's minds is this: did Ndlozi resign willingly, or was he effectively pushed out? The official narrative suggests he resigned, choosing to step away rather than continue fighting a losing battle within the party. But the language used by Malema and the timing of Ndlozi's suspension suggest a different story. Some political analysts believe he was sidelined and that his exit was a forced one. According to this view, his political space within the EFF had been systematically reduced until he had no real influence left. However, there's another way to look at it. Perhaps Ndlozi, having seen the direction the party was heading, made a conscious decision to walk away on his own terms. Maybe he saw no room for independent thought, no space for democratic internal debate, and no future where his contributions would be truly valued. If that is the case, then his resignation was an act of agency, not weakness. Still, for many EFF supporters, the departure of a leader like Ndlozi is a heavy blow. He was not just a spokesperson, he was a symbol of the party's intellectual promise, a reminder that radical politics could also be principled and articulate. His absence leaves a void, and the question is whether the EFF can fill it with equally capable minds. On the flip side, Malema has shown no signs of slowing down. In fact, he's doubled down on his leadership style, insisting on discipline, loyalty, and a unified vision. He's restructuring the party and bringing in new faces. But whether this approach will strengthen or weaken the EFF in the long run remains to be seen. It may produce short-term order, but at the cost of internal democracy and open debate. As things stand, Julius Malema remains in control of the EFF, guiding it through a period of transition and rebuilding. Ndlozi, on the other hand, is exploring life outside party politics, possibly preparing for a future that is still very much in formation. Whatever happens next, the story of their rise and split will continue to shape the South African political landscape for years to come. What do you think? Was Ndlozi pushed out, or did he leave on his own terms? Was Malema justified in his comments, or did he go too far? We want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's have a respectful and thoughtful conversation. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next